could have killed you, but I chose to let you live. I chose to let her live.
Abortion havers deserve to celebrate. Join me in celebrating my 2 abortions next weekend. My friend is throwing me an abortion shower. Yes, you heard that right. People are literally holding parties to celebrate their abortions. They're even making cakes. They're probably baking their own cakes, because I feel like who the hell would have the balls to go to a bakery to tell them that's the type of cake that they want them to make? Okay, so regardless, if you believe that this is a woman's choice or not, me, I am pro-choice. I feel like the average person will see how disgusting and sick this is, right? Celebrating abortion. As per usual, I am somewhat in the middle of, again, this abortion debate. For the most part, I can see both sides of the argument. For those of you who don't know, I am pro-choice, but only under certain circumstances. We also know that many women, after having said abortions, are more likely to experience depression, anxiety, but we also know that, of course, women are raped, there are cases of incest, and I don't believe that those women should be forced to carry a pregnancy full term. And while I do believe in science, and science does say that life begins at conception, I also think that it's a great point to bring up the fact that we are prioritizing a non-sentient being to a sentient being, right? Think about that. And of course, I frequent Twitter, and I've been following tons of other people's opinions on this topic. My friend Tim Pool made a great post. He said, pro-choice would mean both men and women get to choose. The man can choose to not be involved with the woman's choice to have a baby. I can also understand the argument that men tend to make in saying that women can opt out of motherhood, but why can't they opt out of fatherhood? Like, why can't they opt out of paying child support? That kind of thing. I'm not a fan of that idea, but I do understand men's perspective on that. Somebody on Twitter said, if men have no say in abortion, then they shouldn't be financially responsible for the child if they don't want it. Fair is fair. Although if this were the case, I'm not sure if this is helping anyone other than just the man. If a man is forced to take care of the child, then it's both helpful for the woman and the baby. If a man isn't forced to pay child support, then he's only really helping himself. So I feel like it's like a 2 versus 1 kind of argument.
As in, I had a choice. All women should have a choice.
Do you realize what you just said? Killed. I cannot wrap my brain around this, no matter how I look at it.
If you don't want to use the word kill, that's fine. If you want to use the word kill, that's fine. When you use hand sanitizer, you kill germs. I could have simply chosen to let you not exist, but I let you exist. I let you form past the zygote phase.
Is that better?
So yes, I realize what I just said, and I stand by it. If you want to get an abortion, get an abortion. If you don't want to get an abortion, don't get an abortion, but don't try to oppress my rights.
As I said before, I am pro-choice. Things like this are just creepy as f. I don't get it. Who in their right mind would talk to their kid that way? Like, I understand the point you're trying to make. It's a women empowerment thing, but is it really a woman empowerment thing? No. Listen to some of these tweets. By verified accounts, by the way. I almost want to get pregnant with Trump's baby and let it get to full term just so I can rip it halfway out and cut its fucking head off. Who is that? I don't even know who that is. Crazy. Somebody also said, I would rather get an abortion than have a brown child who ends up being adopted by white evangelicals. It is not a kindness to children of the global majority to give them to people who will traumatize them with self and ancestral hatred. An abortion is an act of love. Why do these people specifically, mainly people on the far left, at least in the United States, why do these people hate white Christians or white Catholics or white religious people so much? Also, why do they hate capitalism so much and always figure out a way to make it about capitalism? Like, they always bring it back to that, even though it has nothing to do with capitalism.
All of these abortion bans are getting out of control. And you know why they're doing this?
Because of capitalism.
Yes, literally everything is about capitalism, because everything under capitalism is exploitation of working class people. Now, millennials and Gen Z are having less children because we can't afford them, because, you know, 2 recessions, a pandemic, low wage jobs, etc.
And the funny thing is, the far left will figure out how to blame Trump for this all, even though we know that it is progressives like Biden that's this all up for everyone.
So let's get this one straight. They're now trying to blame capitalism on anti-abortion laws. Let's unpack this for a moment. Morality arguments against abortions aside, capitalism is not forcing anyone to have kids. I mean, why would it? Kids, if anything, are conceivably a burden on society, especially when they're the offspring of low-income families. Families that produce large numbers of kids are typically poor families, and they receive benefits from the government in the form of tax breaks and stipends, especially in places like Europe. Countries that have anti-abortion restrictions, yeah, believe it or not, they do. And they typically ban abortions after about 12 to 16 weeks. The laws differ based on location, of course, and these countries are about as capitalistic as you can get, despite what AOC or Bernie Sanders might say. Abortions are also typically carried out by single moms who, last I checked, typically make up the largest demographic living below the poverty line. Kids from single-parent households are, as much as I hate to say it, not usually destined for places like Yale or Harvard, and maybe that's a good thing. So the premise itself is flawed. Capitalism has nothing to do with anti-abortion laws. As a matter of fact, the original proponents of abortion in the United States, like Margaret Sanger, marketed abortions heavily to minority communities, specifically to poor African-American women. You could very easily make the argument that abortions have a racialized or perhaps even a racist component to them. It's very much the opposite of a free market or, dare I say, capitalist solution. Working bodies are replaceable, and if capitalism has any evils, and Lord knows that it does, it's that capitalism, especially the modern form of it, benefits from open borders and a massive influx of migrants to fill any vacuums in the workforce. It doesn't need babies. Those most apprehensive to anti-abortion laws are in fact liberals. Having more kids, if anything, would benefit conservatives when it comes to having numbers at the polls. It's not exactly a win for the latte-sipping socialists like the ones who make these TikTok videos. Abortion is not normal. It's never been normal. It's a fairly new development. I mean, of course, it's always happened, if history itself is any indication, but it's never happened at an industrial scale like what's happening now. There was no Planned Parenthood back in the medieval era, after all. The idea that abortions saves lives is quite simply an abhorrent way to paint the issue. Yes, it's true that more moms, especially ones from lower income and marginalized communities like black women, could be better served by having better healthcare, better trained doctors, nurses, access to medicine, and so on. So why isn't any money being spent in those areas? Promoting abortion as a way to save lives, all of the morality aside, is just a way of sweeping the problem under the rug. What about the moms who actually do want to have kids? Their lives matter. The alternative of living should not be to have an abortion. It's like Sophie's Choice, except worse.
Another absolute crazy thing that I've been seeing a lot of lately is people saying how it's bad for white people to adopt. First it was bad for white people to adopt black babies, and now it's bad for white people to adopt any baby. Listen to this.
If you are a person who wants to adopt an infant, but we would never consider fostering an older child, you are a selfish piece of trash who doesn't deserve children in any capacity ever. And before you come crying about how you're infertile and it's the only way for you to get children, I'm infertile and I can't have biological children. But I'm also aware that adoption and the foster system are not my tools just to build my family. They are ways to help children, and that should always be the first priority.
Okay, so they're not meant for you to build your family. They're meant to help kids that are unfortunate get loving homes, even if it's temporarily. But if in doing that, it also helps a family start a family, it also helps two parents, one parent, start a family, like, why is that a bad thing? Why can't we have two good things together? This reminds me of that episode of Friends where Phoebe gets pissed because there's no such thing as a selfish good deed.
Well, yeah, it was a really nice thing and all, but it made you feel really good, right?
Yeah, so?
Well, it made you feel good, so that makes it selfish. Look, there's no unselfish good deed, sorry.
When you give money to someone who needs it, you feel good. When you adopt a kid, you feel good. When you adopt a kid, it's good both for the parents that wanted that child and for the child who wanted parents, who wanted a family. Why can't we have it both ways? Shouldn't we want the world to be this way? More people would do more good things if doing good things made you feel good.
A lot of anti-abortion advocates are also seemingly really into the idea of finding out their child's sex really early on. And I think this is because of this like underlying cultural idea that gender confers humanity. And, you know, if you're against people aborting fetuses, you need to construct them as like fully people. And one of the mechanisms to do so is by putting gender on them. So like, you know, we often call fetuses like it, or we call even early babies, we often call it.
While this is true, I don't think people call fetuses it to dehumanize it. And at the same time, I don't think that they call it he or she to humanize it. I think we call it he or she when we know the gender, or at least the sex of the baby. Not everything is that complicated, guys. But back to celebrating abortions, I just want to roll my eyes one more time in this video, because when I see thing like this.
Today is a special day. Want to know why? I had my abortion 2 years ago. It's my abobo-versary. And to celebrate, I made this abortion clinic.
One of the funny things about leftist arguments on this issue and the hypocrisy of it all, it's that these people who are obsessed with things like Black Lives Matter are the same people who will stay silent on the fact that there are more black children aborted than born in certain parts of the United States.
Lives matter or just some black lives? The black lives killed by black men matter, right? Yes? The black babies killed in the abortion clinics matter, right? Thought so. The black officers killed by that bastard in Minnesota, that matters too, right? Okay. But the black babies that are killed in the abortion clinics don't matter, do they? Medical people.
I'm not saying that I'm on one side or the other with this debate. I'm just saying I am where I am, and that's why I make videos. What I'm also saying is that I just wish the far left would be more consistent in their views. Even if I think their views are ridiculous, I wish they'd be consistent. Take a look at what Candace Owens had to say about this all.
Progressive policies always lead to regressive results in the black community. It's amazing, isn't it? Abortion, so progressive. They want to move that forward. We need abortion. We have black women representing 6 to 7% of the population, and yet we account for almost 40% of all of the abortions that are performed in this country.
Whether you believe in abortion rights or women's rights or you don't, regardless of that fact, this is still an important thing to talk and debate about. Because the fact is, this is happening more and more in black communities. And you have to ask yourself, why doesn't the far left talk about that? Just some things for you to think about regarding this issue, because I don't think I've talked or at least made a video on abortion ever, I don't think, maybe once. We usually only see one side of things, and I can usually see both, and of course I also get from both sides for doing just that, but you know, I'm okay with that as long as it pushes things forward. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up, and if you are not already following me on my locals page, make sure you go and do that. I post content that I never post anywhere else there. It's free to sign up, or you can donate $5 a month to me to continue to help support me and this channel. Other than that, I'll see you guys back here in a few days with a brand new video. Until then, I love you, love yourselves. Bye.